It's probably someone coming to look at the letter.
Give me time to get out.
Won't you come in?
Thank you.
You're from out of town.
Oh, yes, we are all the way from Milwaukee. We have come from Madiga, my husband and I. Oh, this poor little bird is as my tiny cat, is much too small to keep a canary in.
It isn't a live canary.
No, it's tough.
Oh, Vincent is out there, darling on the street. Afraid she will miss the police. The police come by here, Johnny.
Yes, unfortunately it does.
It's not yours eye and the drawer. Is it true that you have one of Lord Byron's love letters?
Yes,
Oh, very interesting. How did you get it?
it was written to my grandmother, Irene Margaret de Poet Event.
How very interesting. Where did you meet Lord Byron?
On the steps of the Acropolis in Athens.
How very interesting. I don't know that Lord Byron was ever in Greece.
Lord Byron spent the final years of his turbulent life in Greece.
He was exiled from England.
Yes, he went into a voluntary exile from England.
Because of scandalous gossip in the Richard court.
Yes, involving his half-sister.
It was false. Completely.
It was never confirmed.
He was a passionate man, but not an evil man.
Morals are such ambiguous matter, I think.
Won't the lady behind the curtain come in?
You have to excuse her. She prefers to stay out.
Oh, I see. What was Lord Byron going in Greece? May I ask?
Fighting for freedom.
Yes, Lord Byron went to Greece to join the force that fought against infidels.
He gave his life in defense of the universal cause of freedom.
What that did she say?
He gave his life in defense of the universal cause of freedom.
Oh, how very interesting.
Also, he swam the Hellespont
Yes,
and burned the body of the poet Shelley, who was drowned in a storm on the Mediterranean, with a value of keys in his pocket.
Pardon.
and burned the body of the poet Shelley, who was drowned in a storm on the Mediterranean, with a volume of kit in his pocket.
Oh, how very interesting indeed. I like so much to have my husband here is. Do you mind if I just step out for a moment to call him in?
Please do.
Watch them carefully. Keep a sharp eye on them.
Yes, be still.
Vincent removed that scarf. Sit down on the sofa. These ladies are going to show us Lord Byron's love letter.
Shall I proceed?
Oh, yes, this is my husband, Mr. Schreier.
How do you do?
I am Mrs. Schreier.
Of course, please keep your seat.
She's been celebrating a little.
Ask them please to be careful with his cigar.
Oh, that's all right. You may use this blow for your ashes.
Smoking is an unnecessary habit.
Oh,
This lady won't tell us how her grandmother happened to meet Lord Byron in Italy, wasn't it?
No,
In Greece, in Athens, on the steps of the Acropolis, we mentioned that twice, I believe. Adrian, you may read them a passage of the journal first.
yes,
But please be careful what you choose to read.
like many other young American girls of that day, and this my grandmother went to Europe.
How old was she?
16, Barry, 16. She was very beautiful too. Please show her the picture. Show these people the picture. It's in the front of the journal.
Was a lovely young girl. Don't you think it resembles Agnes a little?
oh,
Watch out, Adrian. You have to watch that man. I believe he been drinking. I do believe that he's been.
yeah. What is she saying back there?
Winston, be quiet.
Oh,
Near the end of her tour, my grandmother and her aunt went to Greece to study the classic of remains of the oldest civilization.
The oldest European civilization.
It was an early in the morning, in April of the year 1800, and
27.
yes, in my grandmother's journal she mentioned.
Read it, read it, read it.
Yes, Pete read it to us.
I'm trying to find the place if you'll just be patient.
Excuse me. She punched her husband, who is nothing. Vincent.
Ah, here it is.
Be careful. Remember where to stop at, Adrian.
We set out early that morning to inspect the ruin of Acropolis. I know I shall never forget how extraordinarily pure the atmosphere was that morning. It seemed as though the world was not very old, but very, very young, almost as though the world had been newly created. There was a taste of earliness in the air, a feeling of freshness, exhilarating my senses, exhaling my spirit. How shall I tell you, dear diary, the way the sky looked? It was almost as though I had moistened the tip of my pen in a shallow full of milk. So delicate was the blue in the dome of heavens. The sun was barely up, yet a tentative breeze disturbed the ends of my scarf, the plumes of the marvelous hat which I had bought in Paris, and thrilled me with pride whenever I saw them reflected. The paper that morning, we read them over our coffee before we left the hotel, had spoken of possible wars, but it seemed unlikely, unreal. Nothing was real indeed, but the spell of golden antiquity and rose-colored romance that breathed from this fabulous city.
Skip that part. get on to where she missed him.
Yes, out of the tongues of ancient, the lyrical voices of many long ago poets would dream of the worlds of ideas, who had in their hearts the pure and absolute image.
Skip that part. Slip down to where.
Yes, here, do let us manage without any more interruption. The carriage came to a halt at the foot of the hill, and my aunt, not being too well,
She has a sore throat that morning.
preferred to remain with the driver while I undertook the rather steep climb on foot as I ascended the long and clumbing flight of old stone steps.
Yes, yes, that's the place. Go on, Adrian.
I could not help observing continually above me a man who walked with a barely perceptible limp,
Yes, Lord Byron.
and as he turned now and then to observe beneath him the lovely panorama,
Actually, he was watching the girl behind him.
will you please let me finish? I was illicitly impressed by the unusual nobility and refinement of his feature.
The handsomest man that ever walked the earth.
The strength and grace of his throat, like that of a statue, the classic outline of his profile, the sensitive lips and the slightly dilated nostril, the dark lock of hair that fell down over his forehead in such a way that
Skip that. It goes on for pages.
when he had reached the very summit of the Acropolis, he spread out his arm in a great magnificent gesture, like a young god. Now, thought to myself, Apollo has come to earth in modern dress.
Go on. Skip that. Get on to where she missed him.
Failing to interrupt his poetic trance, I slacked my pace and pretended to watch the wheel. I kept my look thus carefully averted until the narrowness of the step compels me to move close by him.
Of course, he pretended not to see she was coming.
Then finally I faced him.
Yes,
Our eyes came together.
yes, that's part.
A thing which I don't understand had occurred between us. A flash as of recognition swept through my whole being, suffused my
Yes, that's part.
Pardon me, he exclaimed. You have dropped your glove. And indeed, to my surprise, I found that I had, as he returned it to me. His finger ever slightly pressed the cup of my palm.
Yes,
Believe me, dear diary, I became quite faded and breathless. I almost wondered if I could continue my lonely walk through the ruins. Perhaps I stumbled, perhaps I swayed a little. I leaned for a moment against the side of a column. The sun seemed terribly brilliant. It hurt my eyes. Close behind me, I heard that voice again. Almost it seemed I could feel his breath on my